Hello everybody and welcome to r/PettyRevenge, where this season we're giving the gift of some petty justice. And now for our first story. Company directors get to experience some Christmas spirit. I work in a retail distribution sector. Every year at Christmas, the CEOs and directors send emails out to the staff who they just forgot had to work through all of Christmas because of them. The email is basically, yeah, it's been a hard year for all. Everyone is doing well. Now, me and my family are effing off to the Bahamas or somewhere fancy for a much-needed break. And we all, for obvious reasons, hate it. Now, after this mess of a year, we all realize that, oh, they aren't allowed to travel or anything this year. Worse is that all of the CEOs, because of a business deal they made, now all have to work the holidays for the first year in 11 years, and we're all off for Christmas. The plotting intensifies. So what happened? A thread email was created with everyone in the distribution center who has a work email tagged and sent to the CEOs and directors. And in this email thread were pictures of people's dinners, pictures of family time, everyone's plans for Christmas and New Year's with updates like, gonna treat myself to a daytime nap, might splash out to get drunk at 6 a.m. Just really random updates for people's plans for Christmas, all under the falsehood of spreading work morale and positivity, so no one gets any heat for it. 5 CEOs and directors send this email every year, and now they'll have to open their email to have every single warehouse colleague with an email telling them their plans for Christmas. And my boss, who created the thread, posted a picture of his family holding drinks with the caption, "It's no Bahamas, but it's good enough for me." Now that's the kind of corporate payback we like to see here. And now for our next story. It's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. Screw that, it's not your stuff. I moved into an apartment where 2 friends of mine lived after we'd been talking about it for a year. I knew one more than the other, so I'm gonna name them roommate 1 and 2. I knew roommate 1 more since before, and he was the one trying his hardest to make sure I moved in. After I did, we started making pretty chill rules about how to make sure we could coexist. Big mistake. As time moved on, I started noticing stuff going missing. Hygiene products, sodas, alcohol, snacks, and food mainly. I asked roommate 2 about it, and he said he was noticing the same thing and suspected roommate 1. We asked him about it, and he denied doing anything like that, but we were not convinced. We both moved all snacks and our alcohol into our rooms. We caught him a few times taking food, sodas, and snacks. His answer to that was that he didn't know it was ours and thought it was his, even though it was obviously ours since he didn't buy the stuff himself. The last straw was when I went and visited my parents over the weekend. I had 1 bottle of gin in our liquor cabinet that I had forgot to put in my room, and a box of my favorite wine on the floor of my room, which I had planned to drink when I came home on Sunday. I get a text from roommate 2 that roommate 1 had invited some friends over and they were drinking my wine and gin. When roommate 2 saw what they were drinking, he knew it was mine since only I bought the stuff. Does OP know you're drinking his stuff? Nah, I didn't ask. You know he'll be really pissed, right? Well, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. Even one of the friends he invited over questioned what he did, but roommate 1 just played it off as if I wouldn't care. I was really pissed that he started to walk into our rooms to take our stuff now. He had a stern talking to when I got home about how disrespectful that was, and I started locking my room and then went to a store and bought myself a label maker. Insert evil giggle. When I came home, I started labeling everything that was mine. Food, spices, cooking oils, snacks, soda, alcohol, soaps, shampoos, conditioners, skincare products, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush. For some reason, he took an earlier one I had used and refused to admit he took it. It's kinda nasty. Etc. When that was done, roommate 2 and I started to reorganize all the shelves in the kitchen and the fridge to make sure it was super duper clear who had what. That just meant putting stuff that wasn't ours on a free shelf. For good measure, I labeled the shelves with our names, even where whose towel was supposed to be. Roommate 1 had no more excuses regarding who had what and where. He also had to ask every single time to borrow anything. He had to replace my alcohol as well, which he did. We had no more problems with things disappearing after that. I had a roommate like this in college. He was such a jerk. Knowing him though, even labeling stuff wouldn't have done anything. And now for our next story. Swerving to keep ahead of me? Okay, have fun at the light. So I'm driving in a major city on a road that's always a bit busy. I'm entering onto the highway and need to merge into the lane. In my area, common sense when merging is let one in front and one behind. Like a zipper, if that makes sense. Nice and efficient, everyone's happy. At least, everyone except this one guy in a black Mercedes. Idiot steps on the pedal to try to get ahead of me. I was already halfway in the lane when he started to floor it, and the left lane was congested at this particular spot. He slows down with maybe 2 to 3 feet between us and has the audacity to lay on his horn. After about a mile of tailgating me, he finally gets ahead of me, which, who in their right mind cares? The road ahead of us is much more open at this point. I thought he'd take off and I'd be able to forget about it. But wouldn't you know it, he starts to swerve into whichever lane I'm in. I changed lanes a few times to get past trucks, etc., trying to stay right in front of me the whole time. I'm not exactly sure what his plan was. He never tried to get me to stop or anything. He obviously wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. All I can say for sure is that it was obvious that he was trying to push my buttons. So I bide my time, knowing that ahead of us is an exit to a massive intersection between 2 of the major highways in the city. This exit pretty commonly has a cop in the area where it branches off. Not a speed trap, necessarily, as the cop is completely visible to all, and this is important, and this particular spot has a higher rate of collisions. As we approach, I get into the right-hand lane as if I'm going to exit. Predictably, this idiot follows suit. I stay in the lane until the very last moment that I can legally and safely abort the exit, which I do in short order. The cop was right ahead of us as it happened, meaning the idiot realized he wasn't going to be able to cut me off again without overtly breaking traffic law right in front of an officer. This forced him to continue to the intersection, which is notorious for its long red lights. As I continued on my merry way, I looked to my right to see a grown man in his mid-30s screaming his butt off, face looking like a ripe tomato. I laughed in a more exaggerated manner than was necessary while staring him down and flipped him the bird until I was well past. I wonder how it felt spending all that money on a nice car only to get outsmarted by someone over a decade younger in a turdmobile. If by some miracle this dude is reading this, not exactly sure what you expected. Also, get therapy. You clearly need it and can obviously afford it. Ah yes, the best way to deal with road rage idiots is to obnoxiously follow the law. I love it. And now for our last story. PettyRevenge Christmas Edition. I have this aunt-in-law who is a materialistic bubblehead. She goes on about her assorted status symbols, clothes on her kids, her house, etc. We always exchange gifts at Christmas. My wife has a fondness for her, which had much more to do with her childhood than the classist weirdo she is today. Anyway, I always had the feeling that she would fake appreciate any gift you gave her, but not actually use it. She would make these appreciative and backhanded insults, like the time we gave her a box of chocolates. Nougat covered with chocolate, her favorite. So she would say,
"Oh, these look lovely. Usually I get the handcrafted nougat from the chocolatier XXX, so these will be a nice variation. I'm sure they'll be nice."
Yeah, no, she's never gonna eat those, but my wife called me cynical. We've also suspected her of re-gifting quite a bit, but could never prove it. Until the following Christmas. One of the key rules of re-gifting is you don't re-gift to the same person that gave you the gift. And so, yes, she gave me back the box of chocolates. I know it's the same one because A, it was pretty rare, never saw it before and after I bought it, and it was imported from Italy. So I said, "Oh, these are the same kind I gave you last year. You must have enjoyed these so much that you bought one for me." She turned a little red, but said,
"Yes, they were wonderful, so when I saw them in the store, I thought I would buy them for you."
So then I opened the box right then and there. They were 100% covered in bloom, which would happen after sitting in a closet for a year. Bloom looks really bad, but really it's just sugar that's condensed on the surface, so harmless really. Pretending to be ignorant, I doubled down. I'm going for it. I shoved the box under her nose. "Here, you love these, have one." She stammered,
I'm okay. I'm not hungry at the moment."
"But you love these, you said they were great."
"Oh, they were wonderful, but I really couldn't."
"Okay, well then I'll have to have one. They look delicious." She stammered and looked nervous. "It's very close to dinner," I said, and popped it in my mouth. Delicious. It was gross and stale. She looked red. Then about 10 minutes later, I started to complain, "Not feeling so good. Do you have any seltzer?" So she brought me a glass and I let out a big burp. That's better. I ate dinner, dessert, drinks, then after dinner we had brandy. "Those chocolates would go great with the brandy," I said. And so I grabbed them, passed them around, and some said, "Where did you get those? They don't look very good. They have a lot of bloom." I said, "No, they're great," and ate another one. The aunt looked pale. About 10 minutes later, I suddenly had another stomachache. "You know, hon, I'm not feeling too well. Have that stomachache again. We should get going." So we did. I told my wife the story. She was mad at me at first for being a jerk. So I said, "She knowingly gives someone a year-old box of chocolates and I'm the jerk." And then it finally dawned on her.
She knew it was bad, refused to eat one, but let you eat one knowing it was a year old.
The aunt called the next day and conveniently wondered how I was feeling. I said, I threw up when I got home, but I was fine after that. Wow, if that was me, I wouldn't be going to any more Christmas parties if she was in attendance. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to receive more videos like this every day.